What it is, everybody, what it is. I'm starting early because I got stuff to do and I don't want to cut this short. So, um, I just want you all to know that today is going to be quite, I'm going to be very visceral towards these people because they deserve it. I mean, if it's any religion on earth that deserves people's ire and disdain outside of Catholicism and Mormonism, it's the Black Hebrew Israelite. I think they are some of the most disingenuous and worthless people you'll ever find. All of the sects, I mean, all of them. Every last version that they have of them, not a single one of them possess a single brain cell between them. They all believe that their skin color is of the most import, while at the same time not understanding how their skin color came about or having any version of history that they can match up to their so-called things in their head. For lack of a better term, they're short bus material. Okay. Now, I'll show you what I mean by their short bus material. I'm not just saying that as being trying to be hyperbolic. I'm saying that because it's factual. Just so y'all know. Okay, very mucho factuolo. Okay, that's my Spanish for the day. We're gonna begin by talking about their ancestry. Okay, how they became what they became. And I'll show you their first guy, Mr. Crowdy, William Crowdy. Um, William Crowdy was an interesting individual um, because all of these guys share one very important facet to their life. Um, they all say that they got some sort of a vision from God, and God told them specific things that they have been part of the lost tribes, and it was because they were black and they were told that their history as black people based on their slavery is what gave them the credentials to say that they are the lost tribe, because they say that because they were supposed to be subjugated and spread abroad, Israel, I mean, that if you look at black people, that's exactly what happened to them. And so they draw their references from the transatlantic slave trade, and then subsequently from the displacement of Mama Africa to coming in myriad of other places. And they don't ever attribute the fact that it was Negroes that sold their behinds to slavery. They will never acknowledge that. In fact, they try to avoid history as much as possible to try and rewrite it. Now, this particular guy, Mr. William Crowdy, was a slave when he was born in 1847. Now, during his life, he got abused. Okay, it's not like he was not abused as a slave. He saw people abused too. So I have no doubt that that played a major part in his viewpoints. He eventually joined the army, the Union Army. So it's not like he was without his escape mechanisms. Now, the biggest part of this is that when he finally got to Oklahoma, where he eventually moved to retire after working on the railroads, it's kind of weird that they all seem to they worked fine amongst white people. They lived fine amongst white people, but then a random thing popped up into their head that said, oh, no. What you need to do is understand that you are a chosen man. They said that he had become a little bit odd in his older days, mostly because he had started to, of course, believe what was going on in his head. And he had told people that he had visions that said that black people were the descendants of the lost tribes, the 12 lost tribes. And he proceeded to create a Church of God and the Saints of Christ. That was the name of the church he created. And he is one of the founders of the Black Hebrew Israelites movement. Now, again, this was in 1893 is when he decided to do this particular thing. I'm just curious as to how God waited that long for you to get this so-called revelation, and then he allowed you to name his church however you felt necessary in order to give the idea that this is God's people, when just having the name of one of the tribes should be sufficient. I would have thought. But hey, that's not me. Anyway, 1903, he bought some acreage, about 40 acres worth of land, and this was in Virginia, and decided that he was going to have his own little, you know, Canaan. Oh Lord, these people. He was going to have his own little Canaan, and subsequently, um, he later passed in 1908. Okay, 1908. The other individual that helped him form it was a other guy by the name of Frank Cherry. Now, Frank Cherry was also one of those former military men, and he decided that he was also going to help found churches. Um, Oddly enough, railroad guy again as well. Um, Freight weight. So they all seem to have this similar. So maybe it might have been something in the water they were drinking, or they may have got hit one too many times over the head with some rail pipe. I don't know what caused them, but he said he had a vision that African Americans specifically are the descendants of ancient Israelites, not just black, not just black. No, 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 no. African Americans specifically were that. I anyway. By the way, he too was a Mason, FYI. So I'm not quite sure how they are going to square that circle. So now we have a little bit of a history of the founders. Okay. The founders, I've named them for you. Those are they. Now, as for the sects, SECTS, of these groups, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 groups, 11 different tributaries, 11 different avenues for them to express their stupidity. I mean, their religion, and they go as follow. These are the subgroups and denominations of the Black Hebrew Israelites: Commandment Keepers, African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem. Anyway, Beth Shalom Benai Zaken Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation, Church of the Living God, Church of God and Saints of Christ, International Israelite Board of Rabbis, Israelite Church of God and Jesus Christ, Israelite Rabbinical Academy, Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, Nation of Yahweh, and One West Camp. Now, they all share one very important thing, and that is they have the idea, concept that at one point in the next, life, they will have dominion over everyone else. There might be people that make it to heaven, but these people are going to be at the top, and the rest of these people, including those saved and are in heaven, are going to be footstools. I'm just telling you what they believe. Okay, all right. I just want you all to be aware of that. So we're looking at 1886-ish to currently. All right. So I'm going to give you some visuals about how they operate as well, because I don't want you all just to take my word for it. This is how they move. Okay, this is them. Now, some of you may have seen videos of them either street preaching in their little purple people eater outfit, their Power Rangers thing that they like to they love to act cosplay. That's what they really are. The Black Hebrew Israelites are really just cosplay agents, and all they really do is walk around the place with their little power wrist armbands and the purple head and the purple outfit, and they think that is what's defining them as Israelites. I don't know where they got that logic from. I'm just telling you what they do. And so eventually the goal is to try and make sure that people understand that the Edomites, white people, are the ones that need to be subservient to the nation of Israel, them. And so they will go around and demand things like this.
Right here in the ISUPK on the Commanding General Yohana, man. This is the Lord's work right here, man. This is the Lord's work right here. And this is a good white woman, man. She's showing her deeds, man, to the Lord, man. And the Most High may show favor.
Here it is, right here. There you go. Mr. White Man, get these white women and get these white people a hand, man. Keep on coming. Keep on coming. Keep on coming, Mr. White Man. Keep on going. Keep on going, man. Most High in Christ, man. You understand? Now, they showing what it means to really salute a prophet and a priest of the Lord. Right. Keep going.
No, he's being God and he no longer can be here. In honor of his legacy. We're not rioting, God. We're not shaming anybody, God. We're just humbling ourselves before you. Yes. Father, we ask for forgiveness from our black brothers and sisters for years and years of racism.
Now, if you haven't caught on to it, it's worship of the Negro. These fools want people to worship them because in their real life, they have nothing to offer anyone or themselves. What they're really trying to do is to gain some sort of leverage in life because nothing seems to be working for them. So what's the best thing to do? Use racism. And of course, you're going to have idiotic, stupid white people kowtowing to this crap. These remedial monkeys that will bow and kiss shoes as though that's supposed to be what God wants. Nowhere they can find it in the word. You will never find this in any of the prophets of old having that done to them. Never. But for some reason, because this one's dark skinned and this one's pale, the pale one must kiss the shoe of the dark one to show that they are subservient and they are sorrowful for what their ancestors might have done to a few black people here in America. Now, if you've been on the internet for any length of time, you've probably seen them, and they've visited places like Philip Anthony's church. Okay, they don't like him at all. They've gone after Corey Minor too. That one's really funny. Those ones are hilarious, and I like how Corey deals with them. So they have this complex, and it's a God complex, is what they have. They really genuinely believe. They believe it, whether or not they sensibly believe it. They believe it. I'm never claiming that the Hebrew Israelites are intelligent people. I've told you from the get-go, short bus, it's them. I will never claim that they're coming to this knowledge by actual knowledge or sensible, logical reasoning or even history or the book. They don't come by it by any of those metrics. They come by it simply by a God complex that they genuinely believe that they are oppressed, and they were put in this oppression biblically because God was punishing them. Just telling you what they say. That's all I'm doing. Okay, that's all I'm doing. But recently, well, I can't say super recently. We're talking about like January of this year. There was a panel that was had, and one of the individuals, you've probably seen him around, and I can't remember his name, nor am I going to really care to mention his name. But you'll see two people in this video, and they each consider themselves prophets. Hey, I'm just telling you what they say. They consider themselves prophets. And there was a panel with them and I don't know if you know the Fugazi podcast, a black dude, and Andrew Wilson. You probably know who Andrew Wilson is as well. Now, I will say I don't agree with Andrew Wilson on everything he says. But when a clock is right, the clock is right. And he had these two individuals quite cornered. And when you hear the gymnastics that they're about to perform to get out of this this little pickle, I think you'll find it quite hilarious. And I'll be pointing out one thing because I wanted to get to this point in the conversation so I can show people something. Okay.
Welcome to No Fugazi Podcast.
By the way, these are the prophets here. 1, 2, 3. They said they're prophets. Okay. Especially this one down in the bottom here. The one that can't let go of the hairline that's disappearing, but wants to keep his fro looking like a black Bert. Yeah. Him. He is the king. He's the one that says he's super intelligent, really smart guy, smartest of smart. I think if he was smart, just let go of the hair, bro. It's not. It doesn't want to be there. It is trying to leave. It is trying to give you hints. It has been suggesting to you for a while now that it's in retirement. And you refuse to let the man retire and ride off into the sunset. You trying to hold this man hostage to the top of your head. Just let it go. Let it go. Take Frozen's advice and let it go. Let it go. Your hair don't want to be here no more. Let it go. Let it go. Go bald and let your bald skin glow. Let it go, man. Let it go. Move on. The youthful hair that you thought you had is kapoof. It's disappearing. Okay, going bye-bye. Then we have the Mr. Half White up here, the half Edomite. But he's allowed to be a black Hebrew Israelite to be on top. Now, again, I didn't know that the Edomites could be above and with the black Hebrew Israelites. I thought for sure that the Edomites were the absolute worst of the worst and they're going to be condemned to hell, period. I didn't know that you could still be a Hebrew Israelite and be a half Edomite, half Israelite. I didn't know that. But apparently, if you kiss enough boots or something else, I guess you could be. So here's a conversation.
Andrew Wilson, go ahead and introduce yourself to the chat, man.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Wilson. I'm the host of The Crucible. I'm a political analyst, political satirist. I do debates all over the world.
Meanwhile, the prophet here has every type of liquor behind it. Listen, I got nothing against people that drink liquor. Okay, you can drink your little shot, and once in a while, drunkenness is no. But I ain't got no problem with people drinking a beer. None at all. I said, don't be drunk. But how you gonna be a whole prophet and you don't keep your body pure? You're a prophet, though. You are a prophet, like a prophet, and you out here with your little chang, blang, blang, looking like your face just came out the wash without it being dried yet, wrinkled up, and now you got a whole bar behind you, bruh. At minimum, just try and act holy and look at too. I mean, is that too much to ask?
I appreciate you letting me come in. I did, but so I didn't even know this the stream was happening, but somebody came over and said I should probably jump on. So I've been kind of patiently listening. There's a bunch of things I don't actually understand here. Maybe you can give me some clarification on. The first is, I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but I honestly don't think anybody gives a shit if blacks segregate. I don't think they care at all.
And no one does. No one does. You see, and I think this is part of the issue in today's. We're going to dip off real quick into a little bit of political thing. People have this mindset that, now I will tell you, this might be a controversial take. I think forced segregation was the biggest mistake America ever made. I mean, forced integration was the biggest mistake ever made by America. We should have never forced integration. We should have left it alone and let it happen naturally. And if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. Now, outlawing the damaging of somebody because they are different, totally make that a law and make it illegal. And arrest anyone from either side for doing that. No problem. But forcing integration was the worst idea ever. Ever. So I say, if black people want to go and segregate again, let them. Let them have their own little spot in the world and leave them be. Whoever wants to do it, let them do it. The same way with white people want to segregate, let them segregate. That's it.
Like, well, who would? I mean, they like literally don't care.
That is an argument.
Who cares, right?
I got you, Gorilla. I'll explain to him. So, okay. Yeah. So currently,
and by the way, the Mr. Paleface up here, his moniker is Gorilla. Look, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. They're Hebrew Israelites. Okay? black people. Proud. God sent. God's people. Chosen. Loved. Going to be above everybody else. And you pick the most racist analogy to name yourself after. Look, I told you, right? I said from the onset, they're not the smartest people. They're not. They are not. Look, they cannot claim intelligence because they have zero of it. If you were to pick the dumbest portion of Black America, they would be Hebrew Israelites. Anyone that didn't finish school, dropped out of kindergarten, and they were Black, they would be the first to join the Hebrew Israelite movement. And they'd probably end up being a prophet. Yeah. That'd be them. Gorilla. Continue.
Right now, Andrew Wilson, we got 3 Hebrew Israelites, and some of the things that they like. My debate, my arguments with them is not about the separation and stuff like that, or the segregation. If blacks separate, has nothing to do with that. My debate with them, which they really can't seem to give me a solid answer on, is this. It's all about the racist. So they believe in that God is going to, only the Hebrew Israelites is going to be at the top of the hierarchy in heaven. This is what they believe in. This is what they explain to me. Everyone else that makes it to heaven, they're going to be below the Hebrew Israelites. The only reason why the Hebrew Israelites is going to be above everyone else in heaven is because of the ethnicity, is because of their race. So my argument was, is God a racist?
Valid question. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that at all. That's a logical question. Is God racist? I mean, you'd have to think that if you tell me that he's going based on race, considering that is a fairly modern idea. Before it was peoples, it wasn't necessarily the color of the skin that separated people. It was not. It was not even implemented at all as a black-white thing back in the day. That is fairly new, 17th century, actually new. Just FYI. So I'm not quite sure how God is now looking at these people based on their race to make them the chosen ones, when before all this it was implemented, they didn't have that distinction. So Andrew Wilson is a member of a podcast called The Crucible, and he is I can't call him he's a debater. He's a debater for the right side of politics, conservatism, and he includes a bunch of his viewpoints from Christianity, but we all know how the Christianity thing works, but that's his viewpoint. He's like 10 grit sandpaper, and his viewpoints are kind of sometimes out there. Sometimes, for the most part, he's fairly grounded. At least he's consistent on what he says he believes, and he doesn't really waver. So I'll give him his props there. So I'm just curious as to how the black-white thing happened after the fact, even after the cross. But God is now saying, "You are my people because you black." I'm just trying to figure that out.
All of them confirmed and said, yes, God is a racist.
So it's a DNA chosen people thing?
DNA chosen people thing, yeah.
Not a DNA thing, but there is a chosen people that God.
But make up your mind. Pick a struggle. Is it because you're black or not? Or is it because you're chosen? Can you be chosen because you're not black? Or can you be chosen not being black? Can you be chosen only because? Pick a struggle. I keep feeling like I need to get someone that does topography to give you a readout of why it is that your hairline needs to be fixed, because it's really hard it's hard to focus, bro.
God chose.
Well, is it a mental state, or is it a physical component which makes you the chosen people? Meaning, is it biological, or is it just a status of mental capacity, a mental state? Like, for instance, if a Christian says, I believe Jesus Christ died on the cross, this is a mental state, right? So is it,
Yes,
are we talking
that's a
about
mental state. So it
yeah,
wouldn't
so
be
are we
that.
talking about a biological state?
Yeah. You would
Yeah.
have
Can
to
I read
actually
this
be an
scripture?
ethnic Israelite.
Like essentially, there's a biological prerequisite to
Yeah, right.
be in that upper echelon. It's a
Upper echelon. Upper echelon, y'all. ECOLON. Echelon. Or maybe it is EKOLON. Echelon. Echelon. Echelon, bro. Echelon, bro. Oh. Anyway, continue, Echelon guy.
It's not an absolute qualification.
Yeah, I understand.
It's a prerequisite.
But you understand that there's immediately something which is fallacious, which is happening here just by the very argument of biology. Nobody at the time that any of the Old Testament was written or the New Testament had any understanding of DNA, no conceptualization of this whatsoever. They only had the conceptualization of house lineage. But the idea of blood itself being in some way passed down, and it's through that blood that you will receive X. That wasn't the actual conceptualization. It was from house.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We're still talking about the house of Israel. It's still what we're talking about.
What I'm asking is what makes you of that house.
So 1 second, when you say blood, the scripture don't say blood. The scripture.
You never said that, you idiot. This is how stupid these people are. You can't even keep track of the conversation. Andrew specifically said this idea of blood was a later thing. It was all house. House of David, house of Saul. It said so. That's what Andrew just told you, you remedial monkey. He just said it. Now you're trying to say something that he never said. How did you make it out of kindergarten, bro? Like honestly, how? How did you manage to make it past 1 + 1 is 2? 2 + 2 is 4. How do you make it past that? Because I really, listen, I don't think you did.
To say house, it says it's
That's what I
the
said.
12 tribes of Israel.
Yep.
Right. So it's
Yeah,
the
his
house.
question
It's
is,
the
what makes you have that house?
What makes you have that house? What makes you that blood?
Curses,
when you come from
prophecies, and archaeology. We've been saying it for the longest.
The prophecies and archaeology. Prophecies and archaeology makes me a part of that house. I wanna listen, okay, listen. Archaeology is a study of human activity through the recovery and analysis of material culture. The archaeology record consists of artifacts, architecture, biofacts, ecofacts, sites, and cultural landscapes. So he wants you to believe, listen to me, what he wants you to believe, that the idea that they are of the house of Israel is through archaeology. Them on the screen, that is, them.
And also the spirit. That's in the scripture as well.
Yeah, no, but if it's biological, how do you personally trace your root biologically?
Did you not hear me?
Did you not hear me? I
Well,
said
I don't.
curses.
So
Yeah, I don't understand though. That's what I'm clarifying.
Andrew,
You say you saying to me like, did you not hear me? Doesn't say anything, right? That doesn't clarify anything.
Well,
Let me ask you one question before you go in.
Yeah,
Let me ask
one
one question because I've been
one
kind of
mic at a
quiet.
time. One mic at a time, real quick.
Let me ask you one question because I've been
Gorilla
kind of
goes.
quiet. Hold on. Let me say one thing. What's your name? What's your name?
Andrew.
Now this is where you know that you get caught. Now listen to me. As you can probably tell on his face, he's about to get salty because he's probably more than likely a homosexual. So I'm going to say this. He's going to go into the emotional side of the conversation and begin to call Andrew names, mostly Edomite. Okay? Watch.
Andrew, let me ask you one question.
Mm-hmm.
What race of people went into slavery on ships throughout the history of mankind?
All races of people.
Name me the races that went to slavery through ships.
Now, these are the brilliant people. Okay? These are the smart people. Remember, Hebrew Israelites are learned, they're chosen, God picked them, they're prophets, they're super smart, they're one of the best on earth. You can't get any better than a black Hebrew Israelite. They are learned prophets, smart. The question is, name me one other. Okay, that was the question. Here's Andrew.
Well, so I would say race, I think, is a construction of the mind.
I'm talking about fleshly race. I'm talking about race.
Yeah.
You see how he doesn't get it? Fleshly race. Fleshly race. Okay.
I understand what I think. I just want to clarify this so I make sure I'm answering your question correctly. When you say race, are you talking about black, white? Are you talking? Okay, got you. Yes, if that's the case, the heuristic of black, white, things like this, then every single race on planet Earth has been trafficked in slavery in a big way. Every single one.
I said by ships.
Yes, in ships.
Name me the time that white people went into slavery by ships.
Here we go.
The Barbary states enslaved whites. The Arabs enslaved whites.
I said, when was this?
Do you see how stupid these people are? Let me help Mr. Man here. The 18th century, okay? There was a thing called the Barbary slave trade. Some of you might have heard about it. And Europeans were captured by the Barbary corsairs in slave raids on ships and by raids on coastal towns from Italy to Ireland, coast of Spain, Portugal, north of Iceland, and the Eastern Mediterranean. You clown. The Barbary slave trade was the most horrific thing to happen to white people. It was brutal. It was brutal. You're talking about people that were not just captured, but sawn, quartered, skinned alive, burned, dismembered, castrated. 250 years this went on. $250 years. How in the world do you not know about that? Unless, of course, you think slave ships only happened in Africa, and that was the only time a ship showed up.
So the most recent occurrence of this happened at the time of Thomas Jefferson.
Hold on.
Now he's trying to answer the question and give you a time frame, but of course he doesn't understand or know when Thomas Jefferson was around, because those are dates. Dates are hard for these people. It's very difficult for them to keep track of time.
Let me reword this.
Yeah,
in mass numbers, what race of people went into slavery by ships into a land that is not their land?
He just told you, the Barbary slave trade. Between 1 and 1.2 million people were traded, just FYI. They were sent to North Africa, the Middle East. They took them by coastal sea routes, ship, sea, bodies in boat, ship, water, like you ask. And I'm just trying to help you out here, but it doesn't. I don't think it'll help it.
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. I actually don't understand the question. What are you actually asking me?
So the key part of the key component is he's emphasizing there being a maritime nature to the slave trade, not simply trafficking, but literally trafficking across the world through vessels on water.
So
anyway,
I understand this. So we had the transatlantic trade, slave trade, and then we had the Arabic slave trade. The Arabic slave trade moved slaves towards the Arab nations. They killed all their slaves. That's why there's not a lot of black Arabs. And then you move on the other side, they moved them over to the Americas. But this is the transit. That's new. That's new. Like, this has been happening. Slavery has been happening for thousands of years via shipping.
Yes.
The actual ships.
Which ones with the ships?
He told you twice already, but he'll add one more.
Races.
No.
Yeah. So can you answer
every single one, going from the Greeks to all of them. Every single the Vikings used to use ships to go and get slaves from China. I'm not kidding. Like Esau. They did.
Hello, hear me out, Esau. What I'm trying.
See? Here comes the insults. Esau.
Trying to say to you is this right here, bro. I mean, Esau, is that the so-called black people are the only people that are documented of going through slavery, stripped from everything from their names to their language to their customs to their God word to a day they identify by a color out the crayon box.
Lies, straight up, unequivocated lies. History alone will tell you that this moron doesn't know what he's talking about. Just a blanket look at history will tell you he doesn't know what he's talking about. But this is what they bank on, which is why I told you it is only the remedial portion of the culture that will gravitate to Hebrew Israelites movement. They cannot grab the intelligence. They have to grab the stupid. It's a dumb religion to begin with, started by idiotic people who had brain damage, who thought they heard from something they called God to start something they say they were now black and they're the chosen people because they've been through some stuff. The only words they know in Hebrew are names. They couldn't read Hebrew to you. They barely understand English. These people barely understand the language that's first to them. They don't even conceptually understand how language is put together in the book they say they read. They are about trying to gain some sort of dominance over their own life by making it about other people, keeping them in this portion of I've been oppressed, and so I'm going to strike back by saying I'm some sort of chosen by God person.
That's only happened to a certain people in history.
Not only
hold on, let me. I'm almost finished. Let me land my plane.
No problem. Go ahead.
That's a prophecy that's prophesied in the Bible to let you know who the Israelites are.
Say it.
Okay, so I just want to let you know that what you're saying, though, is factually untrue. So Rome, for instance, is a great example of a society which was literally constructed by slavery. There's more slaves in Rome than there were Romans. They did this to all peoples. They stripped them of their name. They stripped them of their title. They stripped them of their family. They stripped them of it. The whole idea was you must become Roman. Now, in some places later, they let them have some customs, things like this. But this happened in the modern slave trade, too. So in the Americas, for instance, some slave owners, they let them have customs and things like this. Sometimes not. It just depends where they were in history. But no, I'm telling you, all races had this happen to them, all of them.
Those people that went through their slavery in Rome are the people that we're saying that are Israelites.
So I want to get this right. The Romans only enslaved black people, but black people didn't have a title of black people back then. You're a black Hebrew Israelite, but you don't want the title of a crayon box. I want to get this. I want y'all to understand this. They are opposed to the black idea of calling me black because that's a crayon box, but your remedial behind will call yourself a black Hebrew Israelite. Yeah. There's one portion we're going to get to in a minute here.
And we are those people.
Yeah, but if that was all people, yeah, listen. I mean,
y'all gotta
all.
Y'all can handle it.
Yeah, but this doesn't make any sense because all tribes that they incorporated, who they made a slave caste, they erased them. They made them become Roman, all of them. And this happened to all sorts of barbarian tribes. I mean, this happened to everybody.
Yeah, Andrew. So just to be clear, how we make a determination, because of course this is we're talking about an ethno-religious group, being the ancient Israelites, and we're talking about an ethno-religious ideology, right? So there were various things, various prophecies that were foretold that would occur in the latter days to the Israelites and their descendants. So what we're doing is we're taking a look at those prophecies and we're seeing if those prophecies have been fulfilled in various people groups throughout the planet Earth today, and we've identified those with people who are black.
But you have to be very careful with that because you're not prophets yourself. So Jesus, hang on.
We are prophets.
Jesus Christ,
land is plain.
Jesus Christ was the last. The reason we don't have new prophets, is so that you cannot reinterpret the scripture for your own making, so that you can't go in and be like, well, I'm Joseph Smith, the head of the Mormon church, and I'm a prophet. And so I've just made this entirely new religion, which he did by saying, hey, I'm a prophet. No, you, by the way, cannot make prophetic interpretations absent being a prophet, right? Like you can't. You have to interpret them.
We are
prophets. Can I read a scripture? When you say that we're not prophets, right? This 1 Corinthians 12 and 28. And it says, and God had set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversities, and tongues. So when you say that there's no prophets,
hang on, wait a second. Give me the scripture real quick. Let's pull it up. We'll go over it together.
1 Corinthians 12 and 28.
Okay.
So when you say that so when you say that there's not prophets after Christ, I would disagree.
Here's the biggest issue with these people. They do not understand words. We've established that already. But when they hear the word prophet, what they really hear is power. That's what they really hear. Power. They do not hear from God. They hear power to them. And with the idea of being a prophet, you have also underlings, right? I'm a prophet, so then there are people that have to listen to me. Oddly enough, that's not how the prophets operated in the Old Testament. None of the prophets back in the Old Testament lorded their being a prophet over people. In fact, they didn't have to tell nobody they were prophets. People just knew. And they were imparting words that we now have. The prophets that he's reading out of that passage isn't prophets of the type that are going to be telling you something new. They are of the mindset that they are the only arbiters of the word of God now because they are prophets. They don't know how they became prophets, but they're prophets. That was the portion I wanted to get to, because as a prophet, wouldn't you be called by God directly? This is my question to y'all in the audience. If you were a prophet, wouldn't that mean that you have been sold out to God? That what you're called to was specific? There was no running away from it because you were a prophet, right? Okay. That's what they say. They're prophets. Gorilla changed his mind.
I'm not a part of the Hebrew Israelite community. I just got done talking about it. And I can't be associated with the Hebrew Israelites anymore. The real deal. How do you become an Israelite? You don't become an Israelite. I'm not coming in representing the Hebrew Israelite community anymore. Nah, I ain't doing that. So somebody asked me like, oh, so what do you identify as now if you're saying you're not a so-called Hebrew Israelite? Why lead a movement? Well, because it's a movement, and movements stop. But they're actually cosplaying as the ancient Israelites, and they are exactly like Christians because they're still picking and choosing the parts of the Bible in which they want to follow.
But Nick, sorry, you were a prophet in this. How did you move from prophet to just leaving? So were you guilty of lying on God? You were guilty of lying on God? You said you were a prophet. You did. So did all the stuff you were trying to convince Andrew of the Barbary, the slave, this and the, no? Huh. Interesting. Interesting. I'm just curious. How does one go from breaking down the scriptures? Give me a Bible. Give me a Bible. How does one move from that and saying I'm a prophet to they were just cherry picking and they cosplaying? Kind of interesting indeed. I mean, I'm just saying it seems to me like you didn't really believe what you was pushing. Now, our prophet guy didn't always have to have that massive mane of so-called hair that he has. There used to be a time 2 years ago where he didn't have all that fro. He didn't have all that fro. He got a fro. He didn't always have a fro. This is him right here with his little Assassin's Creed armband here trying to look like the Ultimate Warrior. I don't know what he's doing. And of course, he's with Tariq Nasheed, the other moron. And of course, this guy here, the one that shares his wife with everybody. The crew alone on this, there is less brain cells in this picture than in an empty Petri dish. There are less brain cells in this group of people right here than an empty Petri dish. Let's hear what they got to say.
Oh, I think he's going to say something. Well, my question is just, we see you guys rocking the 6-pointed star and everything, and a layman's interpretation might be to think that you have issues with Jewish people. Or how do you feel about Jews in general and like the Jewish state of Israel?
Jews in general, or the Jewish man, we look at him as the imposter. He's not the original Jewish man. He's not the only way we can identify who the children of Israel are is to go to the book about the Israelites, which is the Bible.
Right.
So if you go to the Bible, they don't match the people of the book.
How exactly? Is there a description of Israel in the Bible? Here's my question. Is there a description of how Israelites looked in the Bible? Just my biggest question there. Y'all ready for how I know it wasn't really necessarily how you looked? You ready for this one? Y'all ready for this? Okay. Y'all remember a dude named Moses? Y'all remember him? Y'all remember a guy named Moses? There was a guy named Moses. And his family done gone and put him in a basket, floated him down the river, and he done end up in Egypt, right? Okay. Y'all remember Egypt? All right, cool. Y'all remember that Moses lineage was what? Anybody know what Moses' lineage was? Anybody? I know. Just help me out. Anybody? Can anybody tell me what Moses was? What was Moses? Okay, so Moses was okay, cool. So he was Jewish. Okay, cool. Can I ask an obvious question here? Okay, if he's of the idea that you looked differently, how in the world did Moses manage to do what he was doing amongst the Egyptians? Anybody? I mean, it's a look, right? It's a look. How did he manage to blend in? Maybe he was high color. Okay, better yet, how did Joseph blend in? Let's go to something even more. How did Joseph blend in to the point where he was like, how did that happen? But they're not the original ones. I'm just curious how it blend. Anyway, go ahead.
The Jewish state became a Jewish state in 1947 after World War II, and they just divided Palestine, which is why they're at war right now. Mm-hmm.
You know, when I told you that history was hard for them, remember I told you history was hard for them, right? And I told you that they don't know how to read. Remember, I told you this. Now he's saying that Palestine was divided. Hear me out. Palestine was divided. To create the Jewish state. Can anyone in the audience please help me out and tell me if that is remotely, just tell me if it's true, please. How long before that was Israel a people? And please tell me how they managed to take Palestine, split it, and then is Israel. I mean, it's not like the Bible mentions anything about the land of Israel before that at all. It never said anything about that at all, right? No, never mentions that, right? Never. No. It was only until the nation state of Israel showed up by a governmental standard that Israel existed. That particular type of Jew, anyway. Okay. Like I said, knowledge is not their strong suit.
They just divided Palestine and by force created an Israeli state. But that's not their land. I believe there was an Egyptian prime minister that said the Jews left black and came back white. Nobody.
Hear me out. Are Israelis white? Just answer my. Are Israelis white? I understand that he's trying to link the Hasidic Jews and, but the Middle Eastern Jews. But I'm just trying to figure out how the race is the only thing that plays a part in this. Can anybody please answer me? I just want to know these things. And secondly, did the Bible state that Israel was black?
Nobody believes that they're the people. Helen Thomas, one of the secretaries for the White House, when they asked her what does she think about the conflict, she says, well, they should go back home. And the reporter's laughing. Is like, what do you mean by that? She said, well, they're from German. They're from Poland. They should go back.
They're from German. They're Lordy. They're from German. They are from German. They're from German. These are the learned people, guys. These are the smartest, most proficient, articulate, wisdom-infused individuals on the face of the planet. The Hebrew Israelites, Black Hebrew Israelites, whatever the heck their name is, are some of the most inconsequential human beings on earth because they see themselves as a color in a crayon box, while at the same time telling you, don't look at me as a color in the crayon box. Our identifier is our DNA, but do not identify me by my DNA. Every last one of the colored people out there are Hebrew Israelites, but don't call us that because that's not what we are. You're supposed to identify them by their skin color, but don't discriminate because of the skin color. Now, if you remember the conversation I had with one of those guys, I'm going to try and find it here. If you want to go back and find it, there was one I had with a guy that was coming to defend a conversation around race and the Bible. And if you remember him correctly, his whole hingement was on the idea of the color of skin that Esau had versus Jacob, right? About the red and the ruddy and all that stuff, right? Remember that conversation? If you do have a memory recalling that conversation, I think you should remember one of the bigger things that we had a discussion about was how he came about that being true. Okay. And he couldn't tell me. He couldn't describe to me how he came by the logic that black people, and there were two different races inside of a womb. He couldn't do it. In their minds, there were two nations, right? Remember, nations. And in their minds, a nation is attributed to the skin tone, not how they decide to live. No. It's the skin tone. Two nations were warring in the womb. In their mind, meant a black and a white child. And the logic they have behind it is that what really was because mother was black. And black women are the only ones who can produce both races. Hear me out, though. Was that the conception of racism? Was that the first time race showed up on Earth? I just want to know, was that the moment that race showed up? Anyone can help me with that. This is a portion of it. Now, this was years ago now. Okay. You couldn't run circles, even if you were being slung around in a circle. You couldn't run the circle.
Okay, all I know is, I know you don't want to bring that video up and go through those timestamps.
Go ahead. Give me two of them. Give me two of them. Give me two. Listen. Give me two of them because I have, unlike you, maybe I have stuff to do today. Way longer than my lives normally go. Give me two timestamps. In fact, no, give me the biggest one that will rebuke everything I say. Give me the biggest timestamp you have. I want the biggest timestamp you got. Tell me.
Okay, go to 2030.
2030.
That was the last one I was gonna rebuttal. They're all equal to me. Oh, well, I already did that one. I say, dude.
But you already did that one. The whole live, right? If you go back, the whole live was about him trying to debunk the idea of race in the Bible, that it does indeed exist. That's where it began. And God himself was pro-black. Okay, that was his whole logic. God, pro-black. What he couldn't decide was whether or not he actually wanted to believe that, because he couldn't really prove it. The Hebrew Israelites cannot prove it. They have zero reference points about race in the Bible. Because here's where they run into a buzzsaw. Is the Bible speaking about race, or Is it talking about lineage? Is it talking about two individuals creating a child and a lineage? Or is it two specific color people creating another offspring, and the lineage is based on the look? They can't decipher, they can't figure, and they cannot decide which one it is. They can't. They do not know how to figure it out. One of their number one places to go to is the description of the of Jesus. Okay, I'm gonna read it for you here. I'm gonna in Revelation, right? This is where they normally go to prove that Jesus was black. Now, mind you, them, not me. In Revelation 1, verse 14, it says, his head and hair were white like wool. Listen again to what I'm going to say. This is what they go to. Please listen. I'm not saying this. The word is. In fact, I'll bring it up so everybody can read it with me. So you know I'm not making stuff up. Okay? Okay, I don't want nobody saying I'm making stuff up. His head and hair were white like wool. Their interpretation, his hair is like wool because black people also have hair like wool, curly. Did it mention the texture of the hair or the color of the hair in this verse? Anyone, please, again, I know I might be the remedial one, but I'm definitely not as remedial as a Hebrew Israelite. Does that describe the texture of the hair or the color of the hair? Anyone? Color, right? Color? Cool. Now, is it just the hair that's white? Is the hair the only thing white in this verse? Anyone? Is the hair the only thing white? I don't know why they don't talk about the fact that his head was white. I don't know. I don't know. Head, right? Okay, cool. So his head and hair were white like wool, as white as snow. So hold on. How come you don't talk about the snow portion? Is your hair cold? Is your hair cold? Is your hair slushy? Can it melt? Because it says it's snow too. I mean, you gravitate to the wool, but you won't talk about the snow. His eyes were like a flame of fire. Are your eyes on fire? I mean, this is describing black people, right? So is your eye on fire? I mean, the majority of black people, what they really have is coal, eyes of coal, black. Some might have, walnuts. His feet were like fine brass, as if refined in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. You know what they say about the feet? See, his feet were like bronze, and that is black people's feet. I don't know if you ever seen refined brass. You ever seen refined brass as in a furnace? It is not the color of natural brass. It is not the cool color of brass. It is the burning color of brass, which is what? A brightish yellow to white. He had in his right hand, 7 stars. Out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and his countenance was like the sun shining in its strength. Sounds like a white person to me. I'm just sound like a white dude. I'm not saying God white. I'm just saying sound like a white dude. Sound like a Oh Lord. Listen. I will give the Hebrew Israelites one I'll credit them with this. This is the only thing I'll credit them with. They are definitely their biggest fan club. They're their biggest fan club, and I will give them that till the cows come. They are what? They love them themselves. I tell you what, man, they love them themselves. They can do no wrong. They have relegated God to a superficial being. So superficial that he is simply looking at people at the skin level and nothing else. They're only chosen because skin. That's it, skin. And if you were to just admit that your skin is your most important trait, then you can become more like God. And at the end of it all, your skin is going to save you and put you at the top of the echelon. You're going to be at the highest echelon you had ever seen. The echelon you will be at will be the super highest echelon, and everybody will be under your foot. But if you feel that the Hebrew Israelites, black Hebrew Israelites, are the most remedial of all, they're not. They're not. But they better hope that the most remedial doesn't go out of existence. When you hear the Mormons' startup story, holy crap. When you hear their whole mindset, holy crap. And when you see the book, when you read the book, holy crap. Look, I don't do any heavy drugs. But Joseph Smith had to be on some next level shrooms. When I say this man had to be on some what? Shroom-a-doom-a-doom. He had to be on some shrooms. That man was high. And we'll read out of his book. It is not the Bible. It is the Mormon book. And we will go over what they believe, why they believe, and what caused them to believe it. Okay? We'll do that tomorrow. In the meantime, in between time, I'm going to dip out. I got to go view some places. Hopefully one of them work out. Don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, God willing, I'll be back in the morning. And we'll go over the things about the Mormon belief. Okay? All right. If you don't mind, please like, share this if you can. That's the first thing I'm going to ask you to get out. But secondarily, if you feel led, you pray about it, it is put on your heart to do something, please do so. I'd appreciate it. I could really, 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 really use your prayers, especially in this time, with what is going on and me trying to find housing, especially with this one coming to an end, close kind of suddenly. So prayers would be appreciated. We'll catch you guys on tomorrow. Love y'all. Mean it. Oh, you're late, man. You're late. You came in late. I was going to invite you up to talk and everything. You came in so late. Here's one, people. I'm glad he came in late, but at least you got to see how they name themselves. They don't like their birth names. They'd like to give up those birth names for something that sounds a little bit more biblical. Like Yeshua run Israel. Yeshua run from Israel. Whatever. And to you as well. Herpa, shipper, terpa, ferpa, merpa, terpa for you. Hinka, chinka, tinka, tink. Ping, palinga, ding, binga, jinka, tink. I just spoke Hebrew Israelite. They always come in late. They came in late this time, and I was hoping for y'all to show up, but you got here tad late. Unfortunately. I have no doubt that they'll be all over the comment section after the video's up, though. So that should be interesting enough. So I might have to make a whole new live about the comment section, which would be amazing. I could use some laughs. So, yeah, your shoe run, 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 your shoe run, 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 your shoe run, run. You remember that song? They do run, run, but it's a shoe run, run. If your shoes are running from you, it might mean that you have some bad foot odor and you need to fix it. Fix that foot odor. Fix it. Get that foot powder going. Shoe run, 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 the shoe run, run. Anyway, we'll catch you all a later time. Wisdom calls to you from the street. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.